Okay, so day three, we left Alexandria, and basically immediately after we left, I had a couple miles of just flat ground to cover, and then that flat ground like gradually turned into an uphill. So little of an uphill that like the only reason I could tell I was going uphill is because I could see my average speed was going down, and I had zero headwind. So it was like getting really frustrating, and I was like, man, like when is this going to end? When am I going to get flat ground, or at least maybe a little downhill here and there? And I think it was like 5 or 6 miles, so it's like 30 minutes of down or flat ish kind of ground that was just barely uphill. And then I got into like this state game lands or something. Then it got bad. Then it was like I want to say 1,800 feet of climbing. It was so bad. Climbing that much is like super demotivating, demotivational. I don't know how to say it. You get in there and like you can see a mile down the road, but it's up the road. It's like crazy far up. You're looking at it and you're like, crap, like I've got to climb all this. So you start climbing, you get 3/4 of a mile of the way up, and then you start seeing it like turn. So you're like, okay, well, hopefully it levels out around the corner. Then you get to the next corner, and you see it's 2 miles now of uphill, and you're like, what the heck is going on? You finally get up that, and then you get around the corner, and I swear it gets even steeper. So you're sitting there, and you're like, what? Like, this is insane. And all I had was my GPS, but I didn't have like a topographical map. I couldn't see the altitude change and whatever I was going to be dealing with. So I'm starting to get like really, really pissed off. Like, not pissed off at anybody, but pissed off at, the circumstances that I'm facing. Like, there's nothing else you can do about it. You still got to go over it. So I'm like stopping every once in a while, getting off the bike because like you just get tired. And so I'm sitting there like, what is going on? I'm feeling like helpless, angry at myself for not being able to just power up it, but there's no way you can just power up. You can't just sprint up these hills. Like, if the hill is 10 miles long and you're climbing 2,000 feet, you're just burnt. There's no way you're gonna even attempt to like push through it. You've got to pace yourself. You're gonna have to take breaks. There's nothing you can do to avoid that. So overall, it just really, really sucks. Like, I don't know how else to say it without talking about how much cursing there was. I was just getting like vocally, I was just getting frustrated. There's nobody around anyways, so I was in like state game lands, just me and a bunch of roadkill. So every 50 yards or so, I'm coming across a dead animal that reeks terribly. So that was a nice touch. And then I would just get more and more pissed off, and soon I'm swearing out loud. I'm like cursing to the sky, like not cursing at anyone in particular, but it gets dark out there. When you get to situations like that, like I don't know what Colorado's gonna be like, because those are a whole different animal. But when you're climbing, these forest roads where you have no idea how high you're climbing, because I didn't look ahead of time, which is probably something I could have done. But you're climbing for a long distance, and you can't see around the corner, and as soon as you do see around the corner, and it's twice as far, and it's twice as steep, you're just like what is going on? Like, when am I going to get to the top of this? Because I had no idea, what the highest peak is in the state of Pennsylvania. So it really freaking sucked. So I'm climbing and climbing and climbing. I finally get to the top, and I think it was like the max peak I got to. Actually, I can check. I think I can check.
Like 26.
Yeah, it was like 26,000, or not 26,000, 2,600 feet, 2,600 feet. And I was beat. I get to the top of that, and then I'm like, there better be like 5 miles of downhill. Like, there better be so much downhill that I can just coast for the next hour, like, and not even have to worry about it. But naturally, I get to the top, and I get down the other side, and it's like a mile and a half of downhill. And halfway down it, there's a freaking stoplight, so I have to stop and then keep going. So you lose all your momentum, and it just blows. Like, this is the worst thing that can happen is you climb and climb and climb and climb and climb and climb and climb, and it just gets more and more frustrating, and there's no other way to describe it. It's just the most frustrating situation you put yourself in. And then you get to the other side and you're like, well, what comes up must go down. And you expect it to be, as equal distance or whatever. But then you get to the top after this long climb and it's just a quick downhill. So quick that you may pick up a lot of speed, but it flattens out so quick afterwards that you're not going to coast for the same amount of distance that you just covered climbing. So it's just horribly inefficient overall. And you're just winded anyways from climbing all that crap. So you just feel like junk, and then, you got to keep pressing on because you realize you just spent 3 hours making the first 15 miles. So now you're like way behind on schedule and everything, and it just sucks. And then I think the next like 30 or 40 miles were like mellow, like the first couple days were like just nothing too serious. And then there was like one other like semi-large climb, but it wasn't really terribly large. But then I get to the top of it, and at this point, where was I? It was out near Blairsville, I think, somewhere where there's like big nuclear power plants. Because I remember you get to
mining towns and nothing.
Well, it was like before that. Remember my phone was dying. It was like
when we were on the highway, we probably shouldn't be on anyway.
It was like that 3 mile downhill. That's what I was getting
40
to.
45.
Yeah, it was like you get to the second peak, and I was like, oh, I'm still at 2,400 feet. Like, I guess all those other little dips and drops that I had done between the first massive hill and this next one, I guess, it didn't really amount to me descending very much at all anyways. And so I get to this next peak, and I really wish I had filmed it all, but I didn't have a helmet cam mount. And if I put it on my handlebars, you wouldn't have been able to see anything anyways because it was so shaky. There's no way I was holding the camera because I get to the top of this peak and look down the other side, and I'm on what basically is a highway anyways. They say it's a U.S. state road or whatever, like state route, but it's just a freaking highway. It's like 3 lanes on each side, divided highway with a rumble strip on each side so people don't, go over the lines. And then you got like a 3-foot shoulder. And I'm just looking down this thing, and I swear it's like 3 or 4 miles of downhill, straight downhill. So I'm on this shoulder, and I've got like this really cool view off to my right side to the north of a bunch of smokestacks and a nuclear power plant. And yeah, just a big valley I can look over. And we're just east of Pittsburgh at this time. So yeah, I'm just tearing off down this hill. I'm not even pedaling anymore. I think I was just averaging like 25 miles an hour for, I think, 3 or 4 miles of downhill. And my phone was like dying, so I had to stop recording on the Strava app. And yeah, John didn't know where I was. I think he had texted me though, told me he was at a Walmart in Blairsville. So I had to deal with that. And then, I got all the way down that hill, found him, and I was super pumped because I just made it down that. And then where did we stay that night? I can't even remember. Oh, yeah.
Church
yeah. Since we were behind on time because I had been climbing so much that day, I was out riding like late at night, and it was like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, and it was getting dark. Like I had my taillight and my headlight on the bicycle, so I could see very clearly. Like my headlight is as bright as one car headlight, so at least I had that for a little bit of comfort. And yeah, a little close call with like 1 or 2 semi trucks coming up to a stoplight because they didn't think I was gonna pull out into a lane of traffic, even though the light was red and like I had to turn left. So a little bit of confusion there, I guess. I should have been a little more animated with my hand signals for them. But yeah, then I got to this really awesome looking church, and yeah, we camped out there that night. So yeah, I'll talk about day 4 in the next video.